Okay, in this video, we're going to explore the use of the Revolve tool. So let's get over to Fusion 360. Oh, had my new drawing, left my old one up. Don't save that stuff. Okay, so what I want to do is kind of show you the different, kind of use cases for a Revolve. Well, let's start off with, let's do something like this. Let's do a sketch. You're going to start here. And then what I will typically do is set up, for most things that I want to revolve, there is usually an axis that I would like to revolve around. So I'll make sure that I have that drawn. So let's just draw, doesn't really matter, just has to have a little profile. Like in this case, let's make it look like one of the heads off an Easter Island figurine. Imagine a nose here, eyeballs. There you go. All right. So once I got my profile, I have the ability to create a revolve or a revolution. So I can choose a profile. In this case, I only have the one, and then I can choose an axis upon which to spin it. Now I've already kind of like thought, yep, this makes sense as far as what I want to do. So I could make that my axis, and it's going to spin that around. Now, with the extent that we have, you can change the different pull downs. So you could do partial. So you could have it revolve a certain portion around. In this case, we have it going one-sided. So if I go ahead and rotate that around, it's going to make that one side go. Now, if I change it to two sides, then I can change these two independently. So I could actually do two sides of that same profile. I could also do symmetric, which means if I pull it out on one direction, it's going to mirror that across the profile onto the other side. So I can do partial, I can do full, two object. I don't have another object in this one, so I can't really demonstrate that part. But let's just say we're going to go ahead and do a full. So now you can see how we have our object here. So that's a rotated or a revolved feature. Okay, so let's undo that part. Now, let's see how changing the axis would change it. So I have my profile selected. So instead of this axis here, the y-axis in our view cube here, we have y. I want to change it to this guy. So if I do that, kind of the same function, I'm going to end up with a very, very different orientation. So let's do this. What I want is I want to create a new sketch. I want to do it on that plane here. And let's say we wanted to make, a groove. So if I just put a profile out here, let's make it look something like, let's just say like so. Okay, and go ahead and say okay. So now I have this out in space, and what I want to do is I want to create a groove around this entire thing. So let's take a look and see how we can potentially make that happen. So in this case, I have the center of this profile going through my x-axis. So if I select this guy, and then I want to make my, okay, it won't let me choose red. So what I want to do is I just temporarily want to turn that guy off. So I'm going to go ahead and select red, and then I'm going to turn my body back on. Now what you can see is that I'm rotating that profile about that x-axis. So I'm getting kind of a groove feature in my operation there. So now I have that groove. But let's go back. Let's see if it goes back, gives me the same thing. I want to do the same bit. I want to revolve, not extrude. I want to revolve and turn that body back off. I want to revolve around that x-axis. Oh, see, it already tried to choose for me. So pick that red. Now, what you'll notice is you're like, well, what in the world happened there? Well, what it's showing is it's creating a new body based upon that. If I bring back this other one, then it guesses like, hey, do you want to cut that? But what happens if I do something like intersect? So if I intersect those two, what it's going to show me is that it's going to show me the delta, or if I intersect them, how it would look. So let's go back here to cut, and then you can see how we would have introduced that into it. Yeah, so you can do a little groove. Let's do one last thing. I'm going to go all the way, let's go all the way back to my sketch. So I'm going to undo most. All right, so I'm back. I have to add some pauses strategically because I kind of painted myself into a corner. So what we've done is we've backtracked, and you kind of seen if I have everything around this axis. Now this axis is the y-axis. Let's say I didn't want to rotate it exactly about that. I wanted to do an offset. So what I could do is I could do a new sketch, and I'm gonna replicate what I have here. So I'm going to do a new sketch. All right. And then I'm going to do I'm going to replicate what I have here. So I'm going to come over here. It doesn't have to be exact. It just has to be roughly the same thing. Go back up like so. And let's say it looks like that. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. So what you can see here is if I choose, instead of here, where if I choose this axis, I get that function there. What I can do is, let's cancel out of that guy, and let's say I want to revolve, but I want to do this profile here. So if I choose that same axis, now instead of rotating around, I end up with something that has a big hole in the center of it, and I can do the exact same operations. So what I want you to do is I want to say good. All right, we're going to do one more sketch. I want to pick here. Now what I want to do is I actually want to create a groove around this entire thing. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to create a little sketch like so. Select finish. Oh, it didn't like it. Didn't like what I did there. So let's edit this. No. All right. Right click that guy. And I want to edit that sketch. And what happened is I'm missing out on this bottom portion to complete it. So now when I hit finish sketch, it should look like that. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to where did I end up with it? Good. It's right in the center. It's right in the center of the body. All right. So I want to go with Revolve. I'm going to pick that profile there. And then I want to pick, which axis do I want to pick? It already has one selected, but I want to go ahead and pick this guy right here. And so what you can see is it's going to do a full and cut. And so what I've done is I have placed a cut like so. So for your submission, what I'd like you to do is create this. So it can be any shape, rounded with some sort of hole in the middle that has a profile that's interesting and then has a cut that is somewhere around the center of it. So if you can do all that, you can paste that back into the submission sheet. So that covers most of the things around using the Revolve feature within Fusion 360.